Hi viewers, we're back again with Vicky Jennings. And Vicky, I'm curious to talk to you about give us some examples of how this plays out on an individual level or at the work level of how this is making a difference in people and organisations' lives.
It actually is, it gives freedom to be yourself. That's the big thing that it does. It's liberating, um, because it's saying that it's okay that these are your strength areas and these are your challenges, and it's okay to not worry about your challenges so much and focus on your strength areas. So we have people like we had a consultant who did her program, and it was a 5-day program, and she was profiled as a Lord profile, and she was an accountant, so that made sense that she would come out as a Lord because a finance fits in nicely in a Lord profile. But what she realised by the end of the 5 days, after we've been going through a lot of content, she was a trader, really, and she'd been living the life of a Lord for 20 years.
So what does that mean to the viewers out there? What's the difference?
So Lord profile, as an accountant, it's all about the detail and systems and processes, and making sure that all of that, is good in the business, and quality improvement and legislation and all of those sorts of things. Whereas a trader profile is all about nurturing the team, customer care, looking after people, looking after the harmony, doing things and having lots of activity going on, but it's more of a nurturing role than a Lord, which is more of a systems role.
Wow, that's a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference. And so she had so much moulded herself into the role of accountant that she had herself believing that that's what she was, and those were her natural strengths.
Wow.
She was kidding herself, basically. So because we were able to work with it, she got so many aha moments along the way. She'd actually answered the questions from that paradigm, when in fact it wasn't her paradigm at all.
So what was the end result for her?
She changed her whole life. She went back home and changed everything.
What did that look like?
She started consulting with Talent Dynamics because she found that was such an aha moment, such a huge change for her, and that's what she wanted. She wanted to nurture people. She didn't want to be working with the books.
Wow.
That wasn't her.
We can get conditioned, can't we?
Absolutely.
Like you learn skills over the years, and that becomes who you are. Whereas in actual fact, it's kind of like becomes the layers of the onion.
Exactly.
Really, doesn't it?
So she changed everything. She's a consultant. She's loving it. She's just like her whole world's changed.
You must see that a lot. It must be pretty gratifying.
It's wonderful. We have that happen in organisations too. We had a fellow a couple of weeks ago who did his profile, and he's a creative. He wasn't creative. He's a Lord profile, which is systems, processes, attention to detail. And he found out that his boss was a creator profile, and they haven't got a language to talk to each other with.
Is this the one that they weren't getting on all that well?
They weren't getting on at all.
I think he was about to fire.
He was about to leave, and the boss was about to fire him.
Pretty good timing.
It was really a bad situation.
Wow.
But as soon as he did his profile, he understood where his boss was coming from, and he understood where he was coming from. So he was able to talk to his boss in a totally different way. And I actually spoke to his boss a few days after he'd done his profile, and his boss had said he's changed. So it changed overnight. And it wasn't that he changed his awareness of where his boss was coming from. And then he was able to relate to him, and he was able to come up with another way to communicate.
Wow, so that would really translate. One of the things that we hear a lot out there is the collaboration of teams and the friction and the sabotage and all of that kind of stuff. How does that translate into team dynamics?
Well, you can actually really help the team deal with all of that just by understanding each other's value. When you understand each other's value, you have a different appreciation for that person. Maybe for the first time. Because prior to that, you've seen them as this way or that way. When you understand where they're really coming from, then you know, oh, okay, so that's why they're like that. And you're more accommodating and more accepting of that. So the friction's taken away. Because then you're actually saying, I'm so glad you're like that and you're not like me. Because most friction comes from you're not like me.
Yes.
Right? So when you understand why people are not like you,
yes,
and you appreciate that, a lot of that contention just disappears.
That appreciation would, and obviously when you've got teams that are collaborating like that,
Yeah.
it hits the bottom line, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I've seen our one-day workshops, and we've implemented them with teams that you would describe as being dysfunctional teams, and they're functional by the end of the day, and that's true. None of this change management rubbish anymore. It doesn't have to be a long process.
So in one day, you're saying that you could change teams.
We have many times.
Well, it's happened in your own business, hasn't it?
Happened in our own, absolutely. We had everyone in the wrong positions, and we changed the accountabilities around, and it changed overnight. Everything changes literally overnight when you do that. Just by people understanding each other, and that only takes 2 hours.
And it's also about valuing the value that every individual brings.
Yeah.
So that brings incredible respect as
Respect.
well, doesn't it?
That's it. I think that's the word.
Yes.
We have respect for each other that we didn't have prior to learning this. And yeah, that respect goes a long way.
And so I guess one of the things that I've certainly identified in my work life is the inability for people to trust. So that understanding in turn would also impact that whole level of trust.
Absolutely, and we actually focus on trust and flow, and I've talked about flow in another video, but a trusted team is a team that's trusted by not only the internal team, but a team that is trusted out there in the marketplace. It's trusted by your clients and your stakeholders, and we actually have a tool that measures trust and flow, which is pretty great. It's a 360-degree tool.
Tell us more about that.
A
360-degree turn.
Yeah, it's
tool.
a bit confronting to do it, but we can even survey your customers and stakeholders as well if you want to, and see what they think of you and if you are trusted or not. But it's a tool that really goes into what you believe about each other.
Wow,
it's a really phenomenal tool.
So, what's the impact of having something like that?
Well, then you understand where your shortfalls are in your organisation, and do we really trust each other? And if there isn't trust there, then how can we then foster that trust and get that trust back? Because you can, even when trust has been broken, there is a way to get it back.
Yes, and I think there's trust on a lot of different levels, and one that comes to mind is like I might trust my mother, but I'm not going to trust her being a brain surgeon.
Correct.
If I needed brain surgery. And it's the same if people are in the wrong roles.
Correct.
Then they can't be trusted because it's not the right thing for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what this does is when you understand each other's profile and you move the accountabilities around, you then have a trusted team because they can be trusted to do the tasks that we've given to them because it's their strength area.
There's a lot of leverage in that, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of leverage. And then the team leverages against each other. And
tell us more about that.
Well, then the team can back each other up, and they actually say, I'll do this for Vicky if you'll take on this other section she wants done. For example, it might be, can you ring the students because we need to know that, but I'll do up the spreadsheet because I'm better at doing that, and I'll take half an hour to do that. Whereas I know you can do it, but it'd take you 2 hours to do what would take me half an hour to do. And I know that I'll procrastinate over having to ring the students. I can ring them, but I know that you love to talk to the students and you won't procrastinate over that, you'll get it done straight away. So instead of taking a day or 2 days or 3 days to get a project done, you get it done in a couple of hours.
Wow.
That's why productivity goes up.
Productivity. And you were talking before about absenteeism being down.
Yeah, well, if everyone's enjoying what they're doing, there's no need to be away anymore. And, the funny thing is, when I was working in that job role I talked about before for 8 years that I hated, I was sick all the time. Like, I really got sick. I had bronchitis. Like, whatever was going around, I would get. Because my body was telling me it wasn't happy and it was going to take me out of the work environment that I hated any way it could. So I kept getting sick. And when I moved from that job role and moved into teaching, which was my next job, which I love, absolutely adore, all of a sudden I didn't get sick anymore.
Isn't that interesting? It actually reminds me, on Oprah's last show, she was talking about how she never missed a day in 25 years.
Yeah.
And her work isn't really work for her, it's play. So it's a perfect example of do what you love.
Yeah.
We've all heard it, do what you love and the money will happen.
Yep.
And we often get conditioned to think we have to do it a particular way, and in particular for women, that we have to do it all.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Say more about that.
And even in organisations, like when we're applying for a job, we have to be really great with strategy, and we've got to be really great with people. We have to be able to do things on time and prioritise, and we have to be great with systems and processes, that's the whole talent dynamic square, by the way, that I just rattled off. Okay, none of us are built that way, or very rarely. Some people are. Some people are pretty balanced, a few, but not many. And so,
and it doesn't mean you're out of balance.
No.
It just means that your strength is in a particular area.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so when you learn this, when you write your job ad, and you know who you want to recruit and who you want to attract, you just write it to that, and not the other three. You just focus on one to attract that person in the team. So you can use it for recruiting. It's great to use for recruiting. And then what we do is we just profile the top three, because we know we've already recruited the right people, the right profile from the ad. Then we just profile the top three candidates, and then we make a decision based on that.
And how effective has that proven for you?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We haven't made a mistake since implementing it. Whereas before we used to make lots of hiring mistakes, and they were very expensive mistakes.
I may not have the stats on it, but I'm sure it must be costing organisations millions in hiring the wrong people.
It costs
square pegs in round holes.
Exactly. It costs a lot of money. One of the banks we used to work for actually put a figure on it, and it's $24,000 for every new recruit. That's how much it costs to train them, kit them out in a uniform, etc. It's $24,000, and that was like in 2006.
And then there's the ongoing of, if it's the wrong person, the damage that gets done after that as well.
And then you've got to go through the whole recruitment process again, and it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. So that's why it's really, really beneficial to get it right the first time.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's pretty simple, really.
Wow. Well, thanks for that, Vicky.
It's okay.